Hello and welcome to the Animation Communication Podcast, your source for discussion about animation, film, fandom, and more. So please join our host, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, or KP, for today's discussion. If you like what you hear, please remember to show support by giving a like, follow, as well as subscribing to the main I Love Kim Possible a Lot channel on YouTube. Spread the word, and thank you for being part of our community. This episode contains some mild adult language.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Animation Communication episode. And by this week, it's not this week because I'm doing 2 in a row in 2 days, but you don't know that because you're from the future. So if this is your first time listening for some reason, I Love Kim Possible a lot.
And
a
I'm
YouTuber who does
Taijitu.
YouTube things on the internet. Wait, Ty, I'll get to you. Anyway, as people have been listening to the pod in the last couple weeks know, my co-host Riddle is on a health break, so I've just been dragging various team members to co-host with me because I have anxiety. So, this is great. So with me this week is Ty. So, Ty is one of him and Anthony are the head editors currently, so they keep track of the children and give feedback on people's renders, and renders are just like, a rendered video, so the work in progress work essentially, and that kind of thing. So, Ty, take it away. Tell the world about you.
Legendary co-host. I've never messed up a podcast.
Because he hasn't done a podcast.
Exactly. I've never messed up a podcast.
Exactly.
I've never done a podcast that I haven't messed up yet either.
Well, you did mess up because we had technical difficulties in the beginning, so you can't say that anymore.
Oh.
So, because we're doing some backlog episodes, there's no news this week because we cover all the news yesterday essentially, but you don't know it was yesterday. It was like last week. But yeah, Queen of England died. That's not really relevant for animation, but that's still a thing that happened. And Rick and Morty 100 years, and the season 6 of Rick and Morty just dropped. So and by just dropped, it didn't just drop, but you know what I mean. So that was neat. And watch the last episode if you want more Queen of England memes. Like, well, we don't really do memes, but the internet is doing tons of memes anyway. So anyway, so we have a little change of pace. So we usually do like people in the animation industry and like content creators, and this is kind of content creation, but not really. So I have 2 reps from the BattleGemPonies Kickstarter original game who are here, and they're going to talk about developing original media and that kind of fun stuff. So, who wants to go in first? How do you guys want to do your introductions?
Well, word up, I'm TonyYotes. I'll say the head honcho is the proper official term for leading the game development team here, Yotes Games. And now we're going by Yotes Mark. And with me is Psyaryu, the lead programmer, the developer, right? The one behind all the code and magic that makes it all run. And yeah, between the two of us working on this thing every day, like a game is happening before our very eyes. It's very magical. But I too have also never messed up a podcast. This is my very first one.
Okay, I'm surprised. Are you it'll probably be closer once it's ready to release as far as just like the general like press kind of vibe. But you guys have work in progress footage, and that's a lot more than other Kickstarters or people who are like, I want to make a thing. I'm just like, no, go do it first, and then I'll give you your money. So you guys are congratulations on the bare minimum.
Yeah, I was even just reading a comment on that earlier today. We just uploaded a video about 1 year later, the BattleGemPonies Kickstarter. Where are they now, right? And one of the most heartwarming comments on there is like, oh, most Kickstarters just like go quiet after we give them the money, and then there's just nothing for years, and then the game somehow comes out, but like way later. At least we're talking about it on a regular basis. So we try to do an update every 2 weeks at least, and then like random posts on social media like, oh, here's the thing we worked on, and anyone who's like backed the project has access to our Discord where we have literal daily posts of everything we worked on that day. So it's like a backlog of just like, oh, here's this texture we did. Oh, here's the sprite that we made. Or here's the sound effect we worked on. And oh, look, we made this entire level here to test this feature. And it's just, we want to show people like the process of building something up from the ground.
So my first question, are you there yet?
Oh,
Actually, I had a
imagine like
follow-up
climbing the
question.
tallest mountain, right? You're climbing this mountain for like a decade straight, and like, oh, you finally like reach this nice little peak. You take a big breath and look around. It's so amazing. But then like you look all the way behind you and you see there's an even bigger mountain. Like you still aren't there.
I was expecting it. I was expecting the twist to be like a stone falls off and you fall or something.
Oh, actually, that's a funny story about that.
You tell.
So, BattleGemPonies like started development way back. I'm talking like December of 2014, right? And I worked on this thing as a solo project for years and years. I got to like 2017. This is after like I showed it at a couple BronyCons and like things are picking up. I put it on Steam Greenlight back when that was a thing. And there was like hype building up, like, oh my gosh, we're like about to finish this game. And then, you know, silly me didn't back anything up to the cloud.
Oh no.
All right.
Oh,
And
so
I was
the game was already finished pretty much and you just didn't back it up?
It was at the point where I just needed to make levels and just like grind out all the animations and I'd have a game. But
oh man,
then,
that's painful.
yeah,
That-
all
Like
of it
I feel your
lost.
pain, and I know like nothing about developing these kind of things. Like I can tell you how to animate your sprites, and that's about it. That's my knowledge.
Never
Like,
mind.
just imagine the pain of like you spent like hundreds of hours in this video game, right? And then little brother comes and deletes all the progress. But
That
like
reminds me of
that
this.
kind of
you must
feeling
have-
times a billion, right? That is just losing everything for BattleGemPonies, a corrupt computer. It made me swear off MacBooks that were old, like planned obsolescence. But it was tough times. We don't talk about 2018. But since then, we built it from scratch. This time with help, with very talented friends, and now the game is looking bigger and better than ever. I have more experience this time around, right? So let's just try to finish what we started here.
Basically, a food fight, but good.
Hey, someone's gonna make an HD remix of that eventually. Like,
This reminds me of
yeah,
this like sort of joke from Chowder where they're like doing the Smingerman helps and it's like, at last the roof goes on and nothing can go wrong. Oh no, it all went wrong. Mm-hmm.
So why don't we start at the top as far as like so what is a BattleGemPonies? And what I this is a horse podcast episode, so everyone has a horse background, even Ty over there has a horse background.
whoa.
Which is like a little odd because a lot of the KP editors these days are just like, I like cartoons. What's a My Little Pony? I don't know what Discord is.
How do
I
people
like
say
talking on Discord.
Discord.
So so why don't you guys explain like what the game is, your influences? I know you talk about it in the Kickstarter, but like let's pretend no one watched the Kickstarter trailer. So
Yeah. I'm fine with like repeating everything too, because this is one of those things where, like, of course you never heard of it. We're a tiny microscopic speck here in the gaming industry. There's like hundreds of games released every day, right? So this one here was spawned from an idea I had way back before I even knew how to make games. This is like, we're talking like middle school, high school age me sitting around looking at things like Pokemon Uranium and realizing for the first time that video games are made by people, right? They aren't just like these mysterious boxes
What?
that like exist in Japan and they just come out magically when the time is right? No, like people sit around and like make them happen.
Whoa.
And then so after seeing
Wait.
Pokemon Uranium, that was like, okay, I need to learn this programming thing so I can make like my own Pokemon game. How cool is that? And then Nintendo will hire me, then all my dreams will come true. So like I start taking Java classes. I'm a little overachiever, like trying to just figure this stuff out. And then in my spare time, I'm working on this fan game for Pokemon. I've got this little sprite walking around in 8 directions. I'm coding it like in C++. It's the hard way to do things. And it's just a very like rudimentary, primitive prototype of what making a game is like. And it was enough to make me realize this is way harder than I thought. So I need to take a step back and make like several practice games first. So that's what I did. I started learning like Unity and just making a whole bunch of different mobile games, really small scale, just to figure out like different aspects of game development, different little mechanics that would eventually evolve into like a full-blown big old RPG. And then after I released like a different pony game called Unicorn Training, which like surprisingly a lot of people know me for that, but I released that game in like 2014, and then immediately after I'm like, I finally get to do it. And this time I have like some new inspiration because I played this game called Ponymon Dawn and Dusk. So that's like a ROM hack of Pokemon Fire Red, but they replaced all the Pokemon characters with little ponies from the show, and they evolve into like bigger versions of themselves. Like Philly Twilight turns into Gala Twilight by the end. And that just made me think, like, what if somebody took this idea all the way? Like full-blown, like indie game, serious, like an entire RPG made from the ground up about like, ponies acting as the Pokemon. So I started getting to work on that. And then, I shortly realized, after the whole fighting is magic thing, oh, you know what? This is actually, pretty dangerous. I could do all this work and then it'll all get taken down, right?
So why don't you explain what that is for people who aren't aware of what you're referencing?
So Fighting is Magic is this My Little Pony fighting game, right? It started off as like, was it a meme on 4chan or like Reddit or something?
I don't know.
Somebody
was
posting
before my time.
Yeah. So this is like somebody made mock-ups of like, oh look, ponies in a fighting game. How hilarious is that? But then like those developers actually took it serious and like started working on it in this like very primitive fighting game engine. So the end results of that look so good. Like it inspired me. Like to this day, like I still follow that dev team, and I chatted with the president of that company once, and it's amazing seeing how like real this game looked. These look like the actual like characters from the show, animated just like they look in the show, but like Applejack is like tossing Twilight around, and like Pinkie Pie shooting cannons, and Rainbow Dash is like doing kick combos, and it's crazy. And it's this super cool, highly polished game that gets taken down by Hasbro because they're like, this is looking a little too real. You're looking a little too familiar right now. We don't want kids seeing all this. Our beloved characters punching each other's lights out. So they have to stop that. But then even like Lauren Faust herself saw this game and was like, these guys are freaking like magicians, dude. Game development rules. I'll help you guys out. And she goes and develops like new characters for them to use, so they don't got to worry about the copyright thing anymore. She writes a new story, some lore, a world for them, and now they have this beautiful thing going with them's fighting herds. And I think that was the first Kickstarter I ever donated to, and that really set me off on this course of like, okay, like friends can get together and make a thing happen, and it'll be way better than what I could do alone. And it's just, imagine having a programmer help me out. Oh my goodness. Look at what we could accomplish. And so BattleGemPonies has turned into a team effort since then.
Is that the origin story for Psyaryu?
Psyaryu?
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, I have an origin story. I don't know if it's as eventful as what we just heard, but sure. I'm sure everyone in the world has heard of this thing called COVID. And it caused everybody to work from home for a very long time. And at the time, I was working at Universal Studios, and they cut back our time to 80%. So on the 5th day, when we didn't have to work, because we only work 4 days a week, I would study Unity. And about 2 months of that, I sort of got bored with reading books, taking online tutorials, doing online classes, that sort of thing. So Tony, who was in our little friends group, just reached out to him and was like, hey, can I work on your game? I need goals and directions and something that helps me understand that what I'm learning is actually valuable. So then joined the team, and then I worked with him on that 5th day a week. And then I would say later on in that year, I had a 2-week vacation from Universal Studios because my PTO was about to run out. So I spent the entire 2 weeks working on BattleGemPonies with the Yotes. And when I say the entire 2 weeks, I want to say the first week I put in 80 to 85 hours. And the second week was like 70 to 75 hours. And if we went 2 weeks back before that, I worked 60 hours at Universal. So we're talking like we're getting into burnout level of hours here. But by the end of those 2 weeks, though, I wasn't burned out. I was excited to do more. I wanted to do more. So I put my 2 weeks notice in when I came back from that vacation. And then ever since that October, I've been working full-time with the Yotes.
How alluring game development is. Because it doesn't feel like a typical job. Like, you can even work in the gaming industry and then work on your own thing on the side. That thing on the side you could do forever, but work would, like, tire you out. You get sick of that eventually. But I'm over here, like, almost a decade deep into making indie games, and I could do this forever. Like, I don't want to stop. I want to be, like, ancient and still doing this. And it doesn't feel like work. It feels like you're just building something that matters.
I hear that.
And that's a lot of the reason, like, what again on the podcast where we talk about, like, you know, pushing people to get involved with fan community stuff, because at the end of the day, if you want to work somewhere in the industry, they need to, like, have proof of concept, and, you know, you can usually accomplish a lot more if you work with multiple people than just by yourself. So, you know, there's always, I mean, you guys are making money, so that's cool. But, like, sometimes when there's no money involved and people are like, actually, I'm gonna bounce, my cat has a cold, see you guys later, and I'm just like, no. That is a joke I make a lot because I have to deal with that. But, you know, you go like, you get to learn a lot about you know, just how the things work when other people can explain, like, aspects that you don't know by their knowledge and not your knowledge, and, you know, all that funness. So I guess next question is, because, you know, as a horse person, a lot of the game is definitely, I would say, inspired by, like, specific fandom. Well, maybe not a lot, maybe, like, a little bit, I don't know, but there's definitely some fandom memes that have made their way in there that are still copyright friendly, but, you know, only people who know are like, oh, I know there's a sweetie bot in there, I get it, it's a joke.
Exactly.
So how did those kind of ideas happen, and how do you, like, control how much, you know, original content and how much, like, you know, fun Easter egg content you put in there?
So it really started, like, every single pony in this game is based on some kind of, like, MLP reference or, like, fandom thing from, like, the brony community. And it all stems from that Ponymon game that inspired this in the first place. Just seeing, like, oh, here's what, like, Pony would replace, like, a Charmander and so on. And then just, like, building off of that sort of idea, like, what are my favorite things? What are my favorite, like, fandom characters? What would they be like as a Pokemon, right? So, like, Applejack, like, a fighting type, right? But then, like, okay, how do we make this legally distinct? Let's mix her with something. How about, like, a raptor, some sports tape, and, like, a little bit of ninja in there? Sort of like her Power Ponies outfit, right? And then now we have a new character. It's like, you can't just take the one thing and then, like, slap it on there and say, this is a completely original character, but, like, all you did was, like, put a mustache on it, right? Like,
I'm imagining
one of the biggest feedbacks I got when I put this on Steam Greenlight, right? That was, like, the initial attempt at that in, like, 2017 or 2016. Like, I got tons of hate on that one. Like, all the people who don't like bronies, right? And just reading all those comments, like, I have thick enough skin to, like, take it in and, like, read through, like, just, like, what seems like blind hatred to, like, actual criticism. There's always some nugget of truth hidden in there that made them feel that way, and I try to dissect it the best I can. And, like, the real thing that it was getting on about was, like, the characters weren't original enough. Like I had one that looked literally, it was just like the Maniac, like straight up. But since then, I've like, okay, let's like take this inspiration of the Maniac as a Pokemon, right? But let's add some new elements to it. How's about like some Medusa inspirations, right? Let's make her more snake-like, or her. Let's add like one eye instead of these like two big red eyes. Now she has like this whole Medusa snake thing going on. Oh, her thing can be she petrifies people. So it's like a paralysis effect in battle, so you can't use the move that turn. Okay, so now I've like created these mechanics, this whole distinct look, this whole new vibe for the character, and now we have Vinerva, which feels like its completely own thing. But looking at her, you could still tell like, oh, this guy likes MLP. That's kind of like the Maniac. But it's like, but I think it's like one step above, like how Sonic the Hedgehog going supersonic is basically like Super Saiyan Goku. But it's like, it's different enough. But I try to go like one step beyond that. Okay, like let's add another like couple inspirations into this mix, and then come up with something.
Can the ponies in your
And
game?
then basically every character is designed that way.
Can the ponies in your game go Super Saiyan?
Actually, we have a thing called Ultra Transformations.
Do they
So it's like a Mega Evolution. Yeah. Well, every pony has like one distinct cry, right? Kind of like in Pokemon, so you could like identify what it is. A bunch of variants on whinnying noises that I can't attempt here. I don't think I have the high enough pitch voice for that. But yeah, all the ponies can go into this super cool like transformation sequence, and then they explode and they're super cool looking now. Like Vinerva goes from like standing on four legs to being like lower half of their body turns into a snake and it's like dangling up, and like her tentacle hair becomes like so huge she can walk around like Doc Ock, and it's like, oh, okay. Like you can see the before and after. They look like the same creature, but this is clearly like the beefed up version. And then they whoop you around. It's very cool.
That's neat. I guess my follow-up question is like, I mean, you don't have to spend too long on it, but like, is the game just essentially like Pokemon meets Pony? Like, how does the actual like layout like work, and you know, that kind of vibe as far as just how the game mechanic is?
Yeah. So Pokemon plus My Little Pony is the core inspiration here, but this mainly spawned from tons of gripes I've had with the Pokemon series since I think even Gen 5 is when I originally started just like conceptualizing my own fan game. Like, here's what I would do differently, right? But like, everything's all big talk. Let's see if you can actually pull it off, right? Here I am, like a decade later, still trying. But still, there's lots of little mechanics in there that are different from Pokemon. So anyone who's familiar with Pokemon would feel like, oh, I got the basics, I can hop right in. But then they discover all these new things and go like, oh, this actually like addresses like a thing that I didn't even think about that was wrong with the Pokemon. Or like, oh, this makes it more fun, so I'm not just tapping A to win the whole time. So if I were to pitch the core mechanics to you, so BattleGemPonies is about rapid switching. So you can swap out ponies and attack on the same turn, and swapping out makes you go last that turn. So it has a more rock, paper, scissors vibe to it, where there's no checkmate situations where like you're just guaranteed to lose and you're just pushing A until it happens. In this game, like anything could mix up on a moment's notice and you have to change your whole strategy, which keeps your brain engaged in what's going on the screen. You're also dealing with how every pony has 4 move slots that are assigned to a specific type of move. So you have your light attack that uses less like mana, because in here we have like an entire mana bar system instead of like each move having a number of times you can use it. So then you have your heavy attack, which uses more of that gem power, and then you have your status attack that doesn't deal direct damage, but it always has some like side effect that can buff or debuff somebody in battle. And then you have your tutor slot, which is like your wild card, and that's where you could teach your pony a move that it can't learn naturally by picking up these items in the overworld, and then just having this library of like secret attacks. It's sort of like when a Gyarados can know flamethrower, that's going to catch somebody off guard. And it's sort of that sort of surprise deal that makes battles more interesting. And it's always going to be a 3v3 fight, Because the idea here is you have one pony that can transform into all these different ponies, sort of like Ben 10 thing going on here, where you're going around collecting ponies for your Omnitrix. So, like, when you get into a wild fight, you can, like, capture that wild pony's signal with some strange sci-fi device. And then if you defeat that pony while, like, you're locked into this state of, like, I caught your signal, my pony, and you are, like, staring each other down. Now you defeat it, now you get its essence, and now you can turn into that pony. And then you're just building up this library of, like, amazing creatures, but you don't have to level each one of them up. One of the main things we got rid of here was grinding. Like, in Pokemon, there's tons of grinding. You gotta run around in the grass forever. Or you gotta, like, breed Pokemon like it's and it feels like a day job. You're running around with the bicycle, trying to hatch the eggs. Like, somebody's gotta know what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
Or you're just, like, you're spending, like, a week with a spreadsheet, and it's like, where's the game? I just wanted to make the Pokemon fight each other, and, like...
This is the ride.
Yeah. And it's just...
Dad, when do we get to the ride? This is the ride.
Mhm.
If Pokemon were real, you know, people would be very happy to just breed them
Oh.
It'd be like an Uber Eats hustle.
and sell them like any other.
Like, I'll give you a perfect IV Charmander. Don't you
Yeah.
worry. I got you. But yeah.
or like a drug dealer.
Then Jenning would
Want
be
some
like,
Poke Russ?
yeah, Jenning would be like a practice.
Street
so
pharmacist.
that's like illegal because it's like a gene modification or something like that.
No
Officer
GMO
Jenny would be
Pokemon.
corrupt.
So I guess my next question is like, so how, like, when did you put this on Kickstarter? Like, what was the stage you felt like it was ready for Kickstarter, and how does it work, and how does it consistently work? Because you guys are doing this on a long-term basis. So is, you know, I from what I know, Kickstarter is very, like, you know, one and done kind of thing. So I'm curious to see how you divided the I guess not the money, but like the schedule specifically.
So the Kickstarter came about when I was running out of life savings, full disclosure. I've been working on this for so long, and then I got laid off during COVID. I had this, like, cushy programmer job, but I live in, like, the cheapest apartment in all of Florida, and I'm just, like, hoarding money, just trying to make this game happen. Like, you wouldn't believe, like, the tens of thousands of dollars that have gone into this game project so far. And it's just...
No, I believe you. Good for you having the muns from the beginning for the most part.
So when the muns were running out, that's when I was like, okay, like, we need a Kickstarter this year or this game dies. It's like, I gave it my best effort, like 6 months of prep, just trying to get this to happen. And then, luckily it worked out, right? And now we have this extra, like, money that I could stretch for a whole year, just, like, keep the bills covered, and just, like, dead focus on this game, like, no distractions, no Kickstarter prep. I'm just like, okay, let's just make a game happen now. And I have a team behind me to help me out with things that should speed things up a lot. We keep, like, schedule of things using, like, a program called ClickUp, where we could just assign tasks, and, like, there's a to-do list that's ongoing, and there's, like, very detailed instructions on every single thing that needs to be done for the game. And if I were to chart that out right now, like, the reason I released a video yesterday about the game being delayed for a year is because, like, our projections can see this could take anywhere between 12 to 18 months. That's, like, how many tasks there are left to do, and we have them all detailed out, like, estimated down to how many hours we got to spend on it and who's working on it. And I have all these different milestones lined up for every couple months, like, oh, okay, we're going to get to this build, then we can release this video to go alongside it, then we're going to have this feature to show off, and then we're going to test this mechanic and see if we should replace it in the next phase. And just, like, all these steps are lined out from the beginning so that there's always a plan. Because if you don't have a plan, you're going to wander off a cliff. Because games can go on forever. Like, I'm pretty sure if somebody didn't stop Notch, he'd still be working on Minecraft, right? Like, there's got to be an end point in mind. And we really want to get this done so that we can work on the next BattleGemPonies, right? We want to keep building this up and up and up. Like, playing Legends Arceus made me, like, so jazzed up. Like, I want a 3D BattleGemPonies so bad. Like, to make a game that feels like this, but, like, take it the next step forward. Because I keep feeling every time a new Pokemon game comes out, it feels like squandered potential to me. It's like if I, like all this struggle, all these things that I'm doing with like the money that I could scrape up, if I had access to those hundreds of billions of dollars, I couldn't believe the type of game I would come up with if I had that kind of power. So it's just like, okay, that's some long-term, like pie in the sky dreams right there. Like, let's get to like AAA game status and like make some really amazing stuff as a studio. That's the end goal here.
So, go ahead.
So if I can, sorry, yeah, I was gonna add, a little more to this. In the current state that Yotes is explaining too, that's sort of where we're at now. Over time, a lot of our process has actually evolved as we notice like inefficiencies with them. So if other people are also trying to get involved in projects or like just make their own, it is definitely not something that you just sort of pick up and get right away, and it takes a lot of time to figure out what works best for you. And it, like, even for us, like the way we do our project is not probably the most optimized way for someone else to do theirs. So it's just a little tidbit to remember that like you're gonna find things that are just wrong, and you just
Sounds
make
a
them
lot
better
like
the
your
more
dad.
you work on it.
Yeah, sounds like a lot like, project management, which is what it is, but, So, I guess the follow-up question is, now that you've needed more time, like, do you ask people for more money, essentially? Or do you, like, are you just dividing, like, the Kickstarter, months in, like, more finite, just to, have a little buffer? Or how does that process work without, like, getting too much into your financial business, essentially, is what I'm trying not to do.
Well, it's like, as far as disclosure goes, like, I'm trying to be as transparent as possible. Like, the video we just released today is like me going over, okay, like, we can't ask for a second Kickstarter, so this one's on me. I'm going to see this project through. Like, I am willing to go scarily deep into debt to make this happen, to finish this project, and like Sai's taking on work and just working on BattleGemPonies in spare time, and like together we're putting in like 100-ish hours a week into this thing, and it is just
That's a lot.
$400,000 to work on this project for 12 seconds.
So we're just gonna try to keep afloat and get this thing across the finish line, and then face the consequences, right? This game better sell, because now there's a very big punishment at the end of this. But hey, lucky for us, like, student loans are getting wiped, right? That'll help me out a bit.
Some of them.
Yeah. There. That's like, I'm gonna call that like 20K off of how much BattleGemPonies needs to make back. All right, we got this. We're gonna get.
Thanks, Joe Biden.
Yeah, we're gonna get out of trouble. But that's the end goal here. We even have like a chart of, okay, this is how many copies we need to sell to get to this milestone so that we can buy this thing to do this. And it's like, if BattleGemPonies can reach like 40,000 customers on mobile, then we're good to go, and we can follow through with our plans to get to the Nintendo Switch, which is where like the real dream lies. Like, you wouldn't believe how many people are just waiting for a Switch version of this game to come out, and that's where they buy it. Like, oh, but it's on your phone, you get it, then now I'll wait for the Switch one. It's like, it has to be on a real Nintendo console. And that's every indie's dream anyway, right? To make a Nintendo game, so gotta get all the way to that point before I go dreaming about, okay, now we have real money, and we can pay real paychecks to each other, and not just like scrounge up money.
An IOU.
Yeah. And then we can have like, oh man, like a real paid team, like a studio, actually. With like bookkeeping and accountants and whatnot.
So fancy. Oh yeah, I was just like, I'm surprised that you guys didn't do like Patreon or something, because that would, be a little bit.
We actually do have an ongoing Patreon, as well as like PayPal donations that have been up since 2013.
Oh, okay.
Like, there's actually somebody who's been supporting Yotes Games since 2013, and like I thank this guy as many times as I can. Like it feels like having like guardian angels like that truly believe in you. Like no matter how many times we've screwed up over the years, there's like people out there who are still excited and believe in us. And it's like I got to live up to that. I have to deliver, and it's just very inspirational stuff. Like
Guardian angels with the mun.
exactly, it's like they're always so like nice. I keep expecting like, oh man, I'm letting everyone down, or oh my goodness, they spent all this money over all these times. Like this game was supposed to be out 3 years ago, but no, they're like leaving comments about like they're proud, they're happy to see this still going, they're happy to see the improvements over time, they're happy that we don't keep them in the dark on anything, and it's just it warms my heart. It makes me want to keep going and live up to all this stuff. We want to be like the next Them's Fighting Herds.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, there's so many Kickstarters in general. I was gonna say these days, but it's always kind of been a thing where they're just like, oh, I'm gonna do this animation, and then they collect money, and then you never hear from them, and like, was that a scam? That kind of looks like a scam.
Yeah.
So, props for you guys for like at least keeping everyone, up in the loop and, still working on everything, because that's the way it should be. Don't just take people's money, people on Kickstarter. Don't be gross.
Like, I can't even get behind that mentality. Like, you have a chance at success right here. All these people believe in you, and you're just gonna like drop that to run off with like however much money you got from that thing. Can you imagine how much more? Yeah, like you would make so much more money if you actually did it than did another one bigger and better. Like you could just keep multiplying this, but you're over here just trying to like rip people off for pennies.
Wait, we're actually supposed to pay our developers?
Ay. But yeah, stuff like that, as well as like looking into like professional industries that I've worked in and Sai's worked in, and comparing like our workflow to what goes on there, and like the people working on it, like how jazzed up we are. Like we have a team of like 8 now, and it feels completely different from like a professional work environment, which seems like super inefficient. Like nobody wants to be there, everyone's giving it minimal effort, versus like here people are like basically volunteering their lives, and it keeps building. Like somebody gets excited and posts what they did in our developer Discord, and then that inspires somebody else to like, oh, okay, I can't be outdone, and here's this that I made today, and then it just keeps stacking and stacking, and like we're all fired up to make like the best stuff possible to bring this game to life. And every time we hear like, ooh, here's a new piece of music, like here's some feedback on it, and it's just like, wow, this feels like a real game now. And then just multiplying that feeling like week after week, like this game feels more and more like a real, legit, like video game experience. Like you could play this on like a Game Boy and it would like fit right in. And that's just a really good feeling, seeing it all pile up like that.
Oh yeah, I bet. Well, and good for your team who's sticking with you.
That's
like we've had a lot of people in our since I've been doing the thing where they're just like, oh, it's great, again, but I gotta go feed my cat, so I can't volunteer anymore. So
exactly. Like I'm always being like as reasonable as any human could possibly be when it comes to this, because like I know that there's no paychecks involved. This is all voluntary. You don't have to do anything you don't want to. Like, please take rest. I'm the only one who should be working on this like 24/7 and stressing. Like you come and go as you please. Like thankfully Psyaryu stuck around for so long. I think our newest member is actually Bizarre Song, and I was going for a commission by his wife Sugar Morning to get like a picture of our pony to put on our YouTube and stuff. And then he was the one accepting the inbox for that, and he was like, wait, this commission you're getting, this looks pretty cool. Like, do you need like music for this game that you're working on? And like I get a lot of emails like that, right? Like, oh, I want to do this thing for your game. I'm like, okay, it's like, is there a portfolio? That's literally like my only requirement is just like, have you done things before? Like, and surprisingly, most people like they don't. they just like have nothing to show for it, and just like I know you want to help me, it'll be nice, but like there's a lot on the line here, and there's a quality bar, and it's just so yeah. But luckily,
it's
Bizarre actually
Don't have time
had
to
it, though.
train.
He had the portfolio of like music, and I was like, this works. Like this could be like music for our game. I got it. Yes, you're in. Welcome to the team. And he was like surprised at how quick that was. I'm like, it's not like this is a professional operation just yet, right? There's no like W-2s involved. So we're just like, can you do a thing? Welcome aboard. now we're flying.
It just reminds me of people that, I mean, all the YouTubers always get this. They're just like, hey, you want to collab? And I'm like, yeah. Have you made videos before? No, I was expecting you to do all the work.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what? No.
Yeah, sort of like that. And it's just like, I would like to have like a whole training regimen set up to like get everybody up to speed and like build the skills it takes, but it's just the most important skill is just the tenacity it takes to be working on something on your own free will, like for years on end, and like building up a portfolio and like actually loving the thing you're doing. And it's just, that can translate into so many different things.
Yeah, that's a mood. I don't think I have any more questions. Ty, do you have any questions you want to ask? Just from hearing this, you don't have to ask questions. I was wondering if you had any follow-up questions to my questions.
So, do you guys like how is it already on Steam, or is it like early access, or?
So our first priority is getting this game out on mobile. We're finishing the mobile game version that'll be up on Google Play, the iOS App Store, Amazon apps, all that stuff. And then we plan on taking revenue from that to live off of so we can develop a port to Steam. We're calling that the DX edition. And that's what the stretch goals on our Kickstarter was adding up to. And it's all, we actually didn't make enough to get to that finished, so we have to rely on the mobile game in order to get that kind of money. Or maybe our Patreon will blow up between now and then. But either way, like the goal is to get that DX edition on Steam. That's going to be like new and improved, like how Pokemon Diamond and Pearl came out, and then they have Platinum, which is like the better version of the two with all the stuff added in. It's going to be sort of like that. So it's like a new and improved version of the game. We're going to add in all these new modes, like a super built-in Nuzlocke mode. I call it Oatmeal mode. It's like an ongoing joke that I've had in like the games I've released so far. It's like, Oatmeal, are you crazy? It's like when you
Is this like
get to the...
Is this an inside joke, or?
Very inside joke.
It's a horse meme.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ty, come on. It's the horse podcast. It's a horse podcast episode. You got to do a horse.
Only the OG bronies remember.
How
But
old?
yeah.
I'm
it
with
just
you, Ty.
reminds
Don't
me
worry.
of like every time I go to a Pokemon,
I don't know.
Like, one of my friends would like, if we're passing another group of friends, he just says really loudly, "Ew, bronies," and then he leaves.
Well,
I think
we just came back from Everfree Northwest, and that was like, it keeps reminding us like this game has legs. If it was just out, I'm pretty sure it would sell well. It's just getting it in front of people. People need to know it exists first and foremost. And it's always good to be reminded of that in person, because I swear there is no greater feeling than when the little kids come up to play it, they're like mesmerized by it. And then they're playing it for like way too long, and the parents have to pry them off the machines. That is just the best feeling. Like, yes, that is what I'm doing this for. Video games.
tearing apart families.
Is the most like pure and honest feedback
Validation.
anyone could possibly get. It's like a kid's approval. They don't care about anything. They'll let you know. Feels good. Feels good.
So I guess my last question is kind of a joke question, but is there going to be a KP pony in your game?
You see, I sneak in references to all sorts of things from the fan. I think you, on one hand, will be disappointed with BGP 1, right? There's a character I had in mind let's imagine Discord as like a legendary boss fight, right? You want to do justice for that. I'm not doing that in BGP 1, but I have like I'm the kind of guy who writes 80-page documents about like plans for a video game before I start on it. And like that's one of the reasons why Psyaryu joined me. Like, this guy's serious. Like, there's like detailed notes and structure here. He's actually gonna finish this project. So that's why.
Yeah, I found Yotes to be better
Oh, yeah.
at project management than a lot of the managers that I worked with. So I was like, if I could just
And
help
that's what I'm
him
talking
get
about
something off the ground, he
for
could
this
run with it.
Discord thing I have planned. It's a very big event, and I think there's room for cameos, right? Of course there is. There's even like tons of brony YouTubers that I've liked over the years that have found their ways into like the naming of a character or like the design of a pony, and it all just has to like mesh together. It all has its perfect place, and any brony who plays through this game is gonna connect the dots and feel like, okay, this guy was like actually in it, like in the early 2010s. Like, there's some deep cuts that are really gonna really catch people and make them smile.
Well, I'm going on record to say that you can use the OC. I won't come and sue you. Okay.
All right, just give me a typing. What would a KP Pony be doing, right? Like shooting electricity.
I don't really know Pokemon thing. Like I played Pokemon Go, but like as far as like the old school game, let me get back to you on that. I need a translator for that.
You play Pokemon Go every day?
No. Like I play it like when I'm at cons now because that's when you can trade with people who have things that you don't have. That's really it. But Anthony plays it because he lives in Manhattan and he can play it because there's like fucking all the Pokemon because he lives in one of the most populated cities in the United States. But if you're not in Manhattan, then it's not as fun.
You know what they really need to do with that game? They need to there's this one river around somewhere in South America. I can't remember where it was off the top of my head, but I actually deduced that there's this one river that's where Mew canonically comes from, like just using hints from the games and like the backgrounds from one of the movies. They should put Mew around that area in Pokemon Go. That would be neat.
A reason to travel the world.
Indeed.
Ty, you have too much time on your hands.
Yes, I did a whole video where that wasn't even the main focus of it. It was about why Mr. Fuji used to be evil, but yeah. I will travel across the land, searching for why.
Those are the types of videos I spend way too much time watching. Like video essays on like obscure video game lore. And then I'm always trying to like turn it into productive time. Like I'll sit down and write notes after watching a video like that. Like, okay, how can I incorporate like these types of themes or like these types of like connections and like character connections to my own projects? Like, how can I flesh this world out more? It's really like an extended writing project.
Man, I wish, shout out to Riddle. I wish he was here because he's also like knows, like a scary amount about Pokemon, probably more than you, Ty. And I know you're hinting that you know a lot.
Essequibo River. That's the name of the river. It's the Essequibo River. What they really another thing they need to do is they need to make like another Pokemon Snap game and have a region based off of the country with the Essequibo River. Guyana, that's it. And then make that the new like canonical place of where Mew comes from. That would be really cool.
Mew comes from Mirage Island. Thank you very much. Okay.
Well, in the Pokemon universe, it would be the equivalent of Mirage Island.
Oh my
God!
Not,
right? That Mirage Island is that area in between the like.
Okay.
Yeah, that's yeah. You're thinking, yeah, that was
one of these.
I'm with you, KP.
What is it? It's not called
Faraway
Miracle
Island.
Islands.
That's it.
Faraway Island.
Yes.
Hey!
Yes.
All right.
Girls,
Yes.
you're both pretty. Let's get it back on. Let's end this.
But yeah,
thing.
that's obviously somewhere in the Pokemon equivalent of South America.
Wild stuff.
If we had more time, I would go completely nerd on this, but I don't think we have time for that.
No. I saw Riddle's history of Pokemon. That was... He knows his stuff.
Oh yeah, I just usually I'm like, hey Riddle, what does this mean? And then he'll like give me lore, and I'm just like, thanks Riddle. Like he told the story on like the first podcast where he had like a whole deck of like OG cards that was probably worth 20K, and his mom threw them out or like sold them at a
Oh
garage sale
yeah,
or something.
I know that feeling.
That hurt.
Yeah.
That hurt to
Oof.
hear.
I lost. Yeah,
That's
I lost
awful.
half of my collection. No,
Yotes, if you throw out my collection right now,
you
Yotes,
have to.
least.
That's
I'd
like
quit
tens
the
of thousands
project.
of dollars in those things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
$400,000
This guy-
to look at
No,
things for 12
no, I'm
days.
gonna put you on
Pikachu.
blast right now, Psyaryu. All right,
I
this
have like
dude
every
has
Pikachu.
the second largest Pikachu museum in Central
Go on.
Florida in his home. All right,
That's a lot of Pikachu.
there's uncomfortable amount of Pikachu. He said this. Mm.
I mean, probably
Like,
not
He's
enough.
beaten
it's
out
only
by
the
someone
second
who drives a
largest.
Pikachu car. You can't outdo that. There's
So,
levels.
so my follow-up question: am I the first girl that you guys have talked to, or what?
Wow.
Mhm.
Rude.
Like today, Today, or
Yeah,
just in general.
Goyle.
Are you really a girl? I didn't
Girl
know
gamer?
girls
Oh my
played
God.
video games.
So where can people find your thing to give money to the thing if they'd like to do that, or just watch some cool vids, or whatever there is out there on the internet?
All of our stuff is found on patreon.com/yotesmark. And that is where you'll find the entire kingdom here. BattleGemPonies, the games we made before, all of our social medias. You can even just Google us, BattleGemPonies or Yotesmark, and we're the only things that pop up there. Make sure of it.
SEO is sure a thing.
And we
And
are
there is
just
a demo.
piling up. There's a new,
there's-
a freshly patched
There
demo.
is a demo too.
Fresh from Everfree Northwest. And this one, you
Yeah.
can run around in an overworld, collect ponies, get into battles, find items. You can even like interact with a little shop where you could buy these meteorites that turn your ponies into their ultra forms. It's just a fun little adventure that tests out the kind of game vibe we're going for here. So if you play that, you'll see like our vision for this game and where we're going to be taking this over the next year. And if you're on our Patreon, you're going to get up-to-date things on this, like, as we said, even on a daily basis. Like, here's what we're doing, and then every 2 weeks, here's a big status report, and then every couple months, we do like a fancy devlog video for everyone to see, and just showing off what we made so far.
And where's the demo? Is it on the Steams, or where can people
So
get
the demo
the
is on itch.io. So itch.io/yotesmark. That'll take you to where you can find our games. You could also click on any of our YouTube videos. It's the very first link in the description every time. And that's going to show you where you can download this game. Just start having fun with it. And please, if you have any feedback on it, we're always listening. We take it all super serious. And we're trying to eliminate as many bugs as possible to make this super fun to play. Last thing we want is a frustrating experience.
0 out of 10. No Discord in the first round.
Oh! Yeah, it hurt cutting him for the game, but we'll be back. We'll be back in style.
Maybe he could, if you come up with the right idea, you could add him as a secret boss for the deluxe version.
Oh no! This is like some box art level. Like Discord deserves the best.
Well,
We're gonna give
maybe he
him
could be
the king treatment.
Yeah, maybe he could be the final thing for the sequel.
Mm-hmm. Super cryptic, like.
He'll be
I'm talking
hinted
like
at.
WD Gaster levels.
That's gotta be
Yeah,
the only
like
leak.
this is gonna be a really cool boss fight.
Gaster. Yeah.
Gotta do that justice. The God of Chaos, come on.
In line with the feedback that Yotes was talking about, we are everywhere. So Yotes can sort of talk more to it, but we're also very active in our community Discord. So if people like talking,
we're talking on
to
Discord
us,
right now.
that's
This is
like
so
the
often
easiest
we
way to
do
do it.
Also, shout out to Riddle, which you could have seen him. Psyaryu here uses Riddle as his avatar on like everything. It's very.
We
it's
made
a
emojis out of it.
Style.
I haven't touched
I
base
like
with
the
Riddle in a little
emojis.
bit because I'm trying to let him chill. But I miss Riddle. I wish he was here. He's here with us in spirit. Go poke him and be like, hey guys, we missed you, Riddle, on on Twitter or something like that. But
Shame.
all right. And then if you're new to me, I assume the boys will share the podcast if they feel like it. But if you're new to me, this is Animation Communication, side podcast to the main content. I love Impossible a lot. Subscribe if you haven't yet, or turn your notifications on if you haven't yet, because we're still around and we're still making shit, even if it's not pony related for the most part. So, Yotes, have you subscribed and turned your notifications on?
Twice, in fact. Oh, is that illegal? Is that against the terms of use? I don't know.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
We're outside your house right now.
Twice is better.
Okay.
We are outside your house right now, and you are under arrest.
Leave me alone, Susan. Okay. I'll be on the road.
All right. So again, if Animation Communication with a K is on all of the podcast places and on YouTube on Thursdays. We upload usually once a week-ish, but thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. And if you're new, we have a whole library of like 70 plus episodes. So get all of your things that you want to learn about animation and me blurbering and stuttering all over the place.
And I'm here to announce that pixel art animation is good animation.
Yes.
All right. Drawing ponies in
Yeah.
MS Paint can turn into a career. I'm living proof. Do it, kids.
Yes.
Do it. Draw those squares.
Yes!
Living proof you can go into debt. Sad. Anyway.
Oh, man. I really hope I don't regret this in 2 years. Let's go.
Well, I'm glad you guys are the kinds I can mess with, because sometimes people are like, "Hey, P, you can't say that. That's rude." And I'm just like, "Have you met me? Like, I don't need,
Life's a little short for that type of seriousness. I don't know. Cosmic existence is pretty. I always think of Plankton who's like, you think this is funny? Well, in the cosmic sort of way, yeah.
Well, Mr. Funny Man, is this how you get your sick kicks?
All right, well, thanks everyone for listening to this episode, and do all the things we said. I don't have a way to collect your money yet, but maybe I will eventually, and see you next time on the internet.
It's done.
Bye, everyone.
Peace.
Thank you so much for listening to Animation Communication on YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast provider. We are really hoping the show makes a difference in how people view animation as well as media as a whole, as well as giving and providing advice for people all over the world who like or want to join the animation and media industry. If you like what you heard, please remember to show support by giving a like, a follow, rating those 5 stars, as well as subscribing to our main I Love Kim Possible a Lot channel on YouTube, and turn your notification on. New episodes of Animation Communication come out every Wednesday at 6 a.m. EST on podcasting platforms and 4 p.m. EST on YouTube. You can follow the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at the KP Podcast for information about upcoming guests, episodes, and more, as well as our hosts, KP and Riddle, at I Love KP a Lot, and at Riddle Lightning on social media. I'm Kat, and thank you for being part of our community. See you next time on Animation Communication.